You're listening to the Miles Ahead podcast with Dr. Miles Graham Salisbury, where he shares tactics, techniques, and protocols to improve your physical, spiritual, and mental fitness in order to become self-led, grounded, and integrated.
All right, we're back. Michael's back.
Hell yeah.
You're in the way of transition right now.
Am I?
Yeah, you moved from
I
New
moved.
York
Yeah, that's right. I forgot
to
about that.
where in the South did you move?
I'm in Georgia right now,
Georgia.
but I'm right on the northern border of like literally 5-minute drive from South Carolina border. So basically, I tap dancing on the border.
How has the transition been?
Good. There's a analogy here, I think, with helping people in this line of work and the men's work and the coaching and the therapy space that like, you know how you're going to feel, but you're not going to feel it till you feel it. That before I moved, I remember telling my friends, like, I'm going to be awkward for like a 2 or 3 week period. I'm going to have a hard time. It's going to be weird. I might be a little bit quiet. I know, because my body's going to be like, where the fuck am I? Who are these people? Like, I know who they are, but it's a new environment, it's new addresses, new driving area. Like, it's very different. And like, I was awkward for a couple weeks. And then now I'm kind of like chilling. I'm jiving. I'm feeling better. I see my friends on a regular basis. A big one that I knew I really needed was my mental health was kind of just like, it wasn't bad, but I was definitely dancing on some anxiety and depression, mostly due to lack of healthy social contact with people that I really, really cared about.
Mhm.
And since I've been seeing them, we've been like, we go bowling, we go fishing, we go for walks together, we have like dinner at so-and-so's house, board game night. Like I am just, everything in life has gotten brighter as a result. And I knew it was going to happen, but it still was like, when it hits you, like, whoa, I didn't know I could feel this good. Like, yeah, you knew, but you had to do the thing and then let yourself feel the thing.
Yeah. It highlights the importance of male friendship.
Absolutely. Yeah. Huge part. And even with like dating now, I'm back on the dating apps. I'm getting a good amount of matches.
Great.
But my confidence with which to just to talk to women and be okay to like, all right, you're not a good match, or maybe we'll talk, or I'll take a chance. You want to go on a coffee date? Oh, I got rejected. Like there's this like soft social buffer of like, I'm okay with whatever happens over here because I feel really good over here, like with my male friends.
Exactly.
Like, they've been sort of like, I had one girl I already went on like a first date with, and it just like, texting was good, but when I went in person, the vibe was very different. And I kind of, like, Mike, a nice guy, was like, she had a bit of different things that she was expecting. She kind of she built out her whole life, and she was kind of trying to fit a guy into it, and really wasn't, I think it was going to be a good fit for me. But a part of me was like, well, could I be the guy that she needs me to be? And I was just it's like, yeah, I could. I know I'm going to resent it. I'm going to hate it. Contempt is going to build and be frustrated. Like, I'd rather take the soft term pain of cutting this short than letting it drag out and getting her hopes up and then having a blow up down the road because of something.
You know that dance. That's a good nice guy catch right there.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, honestly, I texted her and I basically said, like, I took all the responsibility. Like, I don't think I'm a good fit for you. I'm being honest with myself, and I don't want to go any further. I don't want to, like, get your feelings hurt. And she was like, I appreciate your honesty and I respect your decision. And then we just stopped talking.
How'd that land for you, for yourself internally, to switch that?
Initially, it was like, it took me like a day or two. I had to talk to one of my friends, and he was like, it's the right thing to do. You're better. And it's like, yeah, I know it's the right thing to do, and it still feels like crap. I still feel bad, but like and then immediately it worked out great. And even then you can run through the scenarios in your head. Like, what's the worst? The best case scenario, she goes, best case scenario. She's like, honestly, I wasn't feeling it either. Oh, cool. Then we're in mutual agreement. Second is like, oh, it sucks. I really was starting to like you, but all right, I appreciate it. And then the worst is like, who the hell are you piece of crap? How dare you? Like, I'm the best thing. You're missing the biggest. Like, all right, then you really dodged a bullet. But like, if you know like all the scenarios, and all scenarios still, no matter what you pick, the scenario still leads to a disaster down the road. Cutting it now is just like taking a soft hit in your stomach and you move on.
And it's the separation of tasks. If you use like that book, The Courage to be Disliked. Have you read that book?
I haven't read it yet, but it's really good. List of books. It's
Adlerian psychology. It's her task to do that. And it's your task to potentially be the villain in someone else's life, even though you're not the villain. You might have to be in her life, but yeah. So, and you're telling yourself, subconscious, whatever, is that your needs matter or your feelings matter. And you're not gonna get kicked out of the tribe. No, exactly.
That's a huge one. I just finished reading a book yesterday. I started the book yesterday was Dead Bedroom Fix. It's really on the nose. And the book is the wording is really, the word language is extremely like cut the bullshit, with the prop. But he basically actually, the guy's name is Ralph B, and his moniker was like DSO. It was Dad Starting Over, because he blew up his first, I don't say he blew up his first marriage, but he learned all the mistakes, the nice guy behavior from his first marriage. It just was not a good fit. He wasn't himself. He wasn't authentic. He wasn't honest. All this stuff and all the problems that came along the way. But he basically made a really good point. It really helped me just thinking about this, like get more of the confidence to start talking about this stuff openly. He in so many ways made a point to say like, you can't argue with the fact that there is still a caveman living in your house in the back of your head and a cave woman in her head. You're better off doing something that allows them to play the way they want to play.
You mean?
And the idea being like, and he talked about in the book, it's like, essentially with nice guys, it's like focus on yourself, really get in good shape, build a group of friends you care about, find a passion, hobbies you enjoy, and eventually she'll want to like chase after you. But if you're chasing her, demanding sex, you're needy, doing all these things. And this wires right back to like caveman days, which is like, who's the cave woman going to go out there? The guy who's getting shit done, the guy who's doing stuff, the guy who's like impressing and outpacing all the other guys. And it's not even her, it's not a woman's fault that she's interested or attracted to that. It's literally just like, and there's like story after story of guys he's worked with who are just like, yeah, I was getting mad at my wife and we haven't had sex in like over a year and all stuff. And I started hitting the gym. I started doing this. She started getting a little bit weird. Like, what's going on? You're changing. It's kind of like, yeah, that's the behavior pattern you two have created. You're now breaking and changing it again. And it's like one after another. It's like we haven't had sex in a year. And I started working. I started taking care of myself, going to getting a hobby. And now she can't fuck me enough.
Ta-da!
And a lot of these women basically said like, I couldn't explain it, but I just wasn't attracted to you anymore. Until you started taking control of your own life and your own needs.
Exactly.
And then you created this new space for me to feel that feeling again. And the argument there for me is like, it's like almost like pushing a button. Like you can't argue with how that button needs to be pushed.
Yeah. She probably didn't have to feel like your mom anymore.
That's a big one. Yeah. And he talks like that's the neediness thing. And you're triggering maternal instinct. And I was thinking about this in the car ride home from the gym today. It's like, unless you're Oedipus, no mom wants to fuck their son.
Hence the Oedipus complex. Yes. And you don't get kicked out of the tribe because you got a tribe of men in your life. So it's fine. You're not alone. You're not isolated.
Yeah. And even then, like your actions and your behavior will this is another thing I was thinking about. It's like no matter how good women are at language and speech, I think I was reading another book. It was like the language and speech percent of their brain is like almost like 15% bigger than men's, something like that. What the percentage was, it was dramatically bigger than men in that particular, which is men just cannot keep up with like the verbal onslaught of Jedi mind tricks that women can do.
20,000 more words a day or something like that.
Something, yeah. And it's just, but it's like no matter how many more words how much we try to simplify the importance of communication as a form of language, like it's still 80% non-verbal communication. And when you communicate to somebody, I'm taking care of myself, I'm getting in good shape. And if we're being honest, like in a nice way, every guy wants the girl that every other guy wants, and every girl wants the guy that every other girl wants, especially in a heterosexual relationship, maybe different from homosexual or things in between. But there's nothing wrong with acknowledging like, yeah, I want you to be wanted, but then not go to them. And it stirs something up in the back of my head subconsciously that I can't control, but I respect it. I can't override it, but I respect it. And to me, that's like inviting the cave people in, basically.
Yeah, it's honoring that.
Honoring that. Like there's parts of you could say like, oh, men nowadays, they're insecure about women getting ahead. And it's like, well, yeah. And then at the same time, women aren't attracted to those men.
True.
And it's like, and even in his case, in this guy's book, he mentions his wife is a doctor, makes a lot more money than him. But his second wife, now he's married twice. But like he even says like, yeah, we're cuddly, holding, kissing in public. We do some crazy shit behind the scenes. But we're very open and honest about what we want and how we act. And like, I am constantly working out myself. I'm getting shit done with my life. I'm moving forward. And she finds it attractive as fuck. Mm-hmm. Even though she makes way more money, I can still find ways to say the masculine temperament, whatever. It's like, but do things that focus on me. And she just involuntarily finds it attractive. The funny one with the nice guy thing is like lying or holding secrets or things like that. And he was talking about a scenario, I think that happened. It didn't happen, but I think it happened with his clients. And it was like they were watching The Bachelor or something like that, like a TV show. And he was giving an example of like what a nice guy would do versus what but an authentic, integrated man would do.
Good way to put it.
And she's like, it's like which of these girls do you find attractive? And he's like, oh, fuck, that's a trap. Oh my God. And really the answer to that question is she wants to know, A, are you willing to tell her the truth, even if it hurts her?
Yes.
E, can you be like authentic and honest? Can you handle her emotional burst if it hits?
Because it's going to happen.
Yeah. What was that?
It's going to happen. It's going to come at you.
Yeah. And so he's like, scenario 1 was the nice guy. And it was like, I read this entire book front to cover, like front to back last night. I just couldn't put it down.
Holy shit. It was a good book.
It wasn't super long, but it's just like, it had a really good cadence. And it's not like, here's some information. It was like him talking to you, like, cut this shit. But like, nerd, get the fuck to work.
That's the point.
Yeah. The scenario 1 was like, which one do you think is most attractive? And he's like, oh, none of them. You're the most beautiful person in my life. I would never think about being with another woman ever. I mean, not none of them. And she's like, fucking bullshit. I know you find one of them attractive. Which one is it? And then they get into a big fight and all this stuff because really she knows. And she's like, she's aware you're a man. You have attractive tendencies toward other women outside the relationship. And scenario 2 was like, he's like, you know what? I think the brunette's pretty hot for like a one night stand. Maybe the blonde I can see a little longer. She's like, I think the redhead is actually kind of more my thing. But I thought you'd be more into like the one who was darker. I was like, no, it's good for this and good for that. But it was just like, I'm okay with the fact that you find other people attractive. Just be honest about it.
Just think of like the pressure and burden that relieves on that relationship. Just to have fun with that.
But also, the third scenario is you say that, I think the brunette's pretty hot, the blonde's kind of, and she's like, what the fuck? How could you? And then like, okay, cool. You just got more information about whether you should stay or not.
Yeah, just going to say that. Yeah.
That's exactly it. In all 3 scenarios, it's like scenario 1 is you're honest and she appreciates the honesty. Scenario 2 is you buckle under the pressure and you piss her off anyway. And scenario 3 is you shouldn't be with her in the first place.
You should run. Yeah.
You should run. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you got some serious couples therapy.
Yeah, and a lot of even within all that stuff, it's like how many times we see with these guys who are just like, happy wife, happy life. It's like
can't stand that.
Sacrificing yourself for somebody else and then putting that person on a pedestal, and it just
that should go both ways. Happy together, both
spouse.
ways.
It was like I remember happy spouse, happy house.
There we go.
It goes both directions.
Both ways.
Yeah, it goes both directions. Yeah.
That should be the new one. And I think men we have to learn what that looks like, because we know how to take care of quote unquote women financially or whatever, but emotionally or ourselves, we need to do that because that's attractive and that makes us what a real man is, but like we're trying to move to a healthy sense of masculinity. And to your point earlier, like women can sense that. That's like what Dewey Freeman calls like structure and softness. Yeah, you have to have the structure. You have to have the typical male stuff. But you have to have the softness, the typical vulnerability or openness, if you want to say. I don't really like the word vulnerable still. It still hits me wrong, but I like openness.
Vulnerability, I think, should be reserved for other men personally. And maybe there's a bit of patriarchal undertones to that. But like there's stated versus revealed preferences. It's like women say they want men to be vulnerable, and then they're vulnerable, and they get discouraged and they get turned off by it.
They get that weaponized against them, and they're like, "Wait, I'll never say anything to you ever again."
Yeah, and then it's not really it's almost like it's not really their fault because they don't see the tripwiring in the back of their own subconscious. They just think, "Oh, this seems like a rational solution to this problem," not realizing you're going to piss off that cave woman in the back of your head a lot by doing that. Yeah. But it doesn't mean. Like Connor Beaton made a point about this. It's like, she doesn't want you to come to her with her problems for her to solve.
Exactly.
But she does want to know that you're like working through it. And if she can support anyway, you're still working towards finding a solution.
Yeah. You have to say, and you don't have to emotionally caretake me. I just want to process this with you because I love you. This is good for a relationship, but I'm doing the work. Here's what I've identified in myself. I just want to run this by you, but you don't have to fix me. And it's like such a burden relief. But if you're open and vulnerable and emoting and you just sit there like a pile of mush waiting for her to like validate you, she's going to go into maternal mode and then there goes the relationship.
Yeah.
Or it gets weird.
Well, this is what I think people make the mistake. I think like the integrated man, the grounded man, the adaptive man.
That's a good one. There's a podcast named that.
Yeah, right. By the way.
Plug it.
Adaptive Men Podcast. Come talk to me. Adaptive Men Coaching, Michael Reed. Hell yeah.
There we go.
The idea, I was talking to another friend of mine about this. He's like a business performance coach. And we're talking about this in terms of relationship. And it's like, you have to have the warrior and the teddy bear. And I think what a lot of men do is they over-index on one or the other. And they're convinced there can't be space for both.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when you get to a point where you've got a good head on your shoulders, you kind of know where you're going in life, comfortable in your own skin, know where you're going in life and having fun getting there. Thank you, Dr. Glover. Mm-hmm. There's so many overlaps. So interesting. It's like, I just finished reading a book. It was Polyvagal Theory in Therapy. I'm going to tie this back in what we're saying. And it's talking about polyvagal theory, the vagus nerve and how all this stuff. And when you're in a ventral vagal state, ventral vagal is like the front of the vagus nerve and dorsal is the back of the vagus nerve. Ventral vagal is curiosity, compassion, inquisitiveness, playfulness. Like you're open to new things and you're really observing the world in a very open way. Dorsal vagal is complete shutdown, freaking out, convinced the world's going to end any minute, like have to be on high alert. And it's all involuntary. It's your own nervous system basically going into fight or flight. And sympathetic is like kind of a little bit elevated, but not crazy. And the idea is like when you can get to a point where you can get your nervous system grounded, your body grounded, like get through your old traumas, get control of your body and your future and your focus, you can see so much more. And you can then, if you have the teddy bear and the warrior, you can tell when you need to bring each one out and you can shift between them comfortably. It's like if you're married with kids, like your wife wants to see a teddy bear with the kids and she wants to see a fucking warrior in the bedroom. You don't want to mix the two of them if you can help, like reverse them
over.
Yeah, like she doesn't want a teddy bear. She doesn't want you beating the shit out of your kids and then having you cuddle her while she's on working sex. It's like, it's fair though. But you learn how to, and then you get to a point where you can basically see like, oh, she needs a warrior right now. Oh, she needs a teddy bear right now. And I'm calm and grounded enough that I know which one she needs and I can move into it as I need to.
Yes. Well stated.
That's the way I look at it, at least. Yeah. And so it's like ventral. It's like the more you can stay in a calm, collected state, the less you get perturbed by emotions, the more you can handle difficult situations, the more information you can hold at one time to make a proper decision to know what to do next. When you go into the collapse, it will just trigger maternal instinct, involuntary, what you want to.
And a lot of this is like going on in the unconscious. Maybe we should talk about ways that guys and women can get grounded, regulated in their nervous system. Because they'll just hijack your consciousness and it's just a knee-jerk response. So what do we do? How do we solve that?
Well, the scariest part is that you don't know when you're going dysregulated.
Yeah, Carl Jung said the problem with the unconscious is it's unconscious.
Yeah. To me, one of the answers to that is that accountability, external accountability and vulnerability with people you care about. Like it's not a bug of human psychology and evolution. It's a feature. For whatever reason, there's a number of reasons we can go down a rabbit hole with that. That relying on other people to call you out when you go down a bad rabbit hole is one of the best ways to stop you from spiraling down a rabbit hole.
So if you have that agreement with your partner to help you co-regulate.
Yeah, it could be your partner, but it also be your friends, could be your father, your mother, you have siblings, you have friends that you really, really, especially if you're working through like attachment issues, like anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. I've got some clients now I'm talking to and just like, they'll text me and be like, she texted me this and I want to text this massive thing back. I'm like, delete. No.
Slow down.
Take a breath, go for a walk, come back in 10 minutes and tell me how you feel again. Like, okay, I calmed down. I realized I was fucking great. Like, yeah, I'm acting as your anchor right now, but eventually I want you to go out and find friends that can do this for you.
Yes.
And so, yeah, the hard part being like, when am I actually, how do I know I'm going off the rails? Like, unless you're ridiculously self-conscious, self-aware, and that's sometimes a combination probably of genetics as well as a lot of work you do on yourself, meditation, breath work, journaling. That polyvagal book I mentioned, it was really interesting. They actually had a study where they showed how, like, in yoga, that Om sound.
Oh yeah, the vibrations calms.
Yeah, it actually literally calms down the vagus nerve. Yeah. It was so interesting to we figured that out years ago, but now there's actually science to prove it.
Yep.
So doing these tasks and activities, strengthening your prefrontal cortex through doing I kind of think of it as like your prefrontal cortex. There's your anterior singular cortex, and then there's like the rest of your brain. And like the back of your brain is like emotion central, monkey brain, lizard brain, keep you alive at all times, make sure you don't die. Front of your brain is like, I need to plan for the future. I have a complex and intricate idea. I need to stay focused on what I'm doing. And then that singular cortex is like the gatekeeper between the two. And what they've shown is that when you start to do activities or you do things that discipline you, it's like when you say, I don't want to go to the gym, but I'm going to go anyway. I don't want to eat a salad. No, I want to eat a burger. I'm going to eat a salad anyway. The more you start to do that, the more it literally strengthens the ability of the singular cortex to block the emotional impulse from the back of your head.
So it gets bigger.
It gets bigger. It gets bigger. It gets stronger. It gets denser. It's literally neuroscience to prove that when you do shit you don't want to do, you will get better at doing shit you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And then people will like you more.
Dr. Huberman was talking about this on a podcast, and it's correlated with people that live longer too. That's bigger. That part of their brain is bigger. Yeah. It's like the mid-anterior cingulate cortex or something like that. I could be flipping those around, but he was talking about like David Goggins is like must be massive.
Probably gigantic.
He's going to be like 2,000.
Probably like 90% of his fucking brain is that thing right now.
Yeah, it's when you feel like you don't want to do something and you do it anyways.
Yeah, and you chunk it down to be a small enough activity that you can do it. And what I try to tell people too is like, I have this concept of like the gap. And it's always like our brains are wonderfully amazing, complex machines. And also there's things that just suck. One of the things that sucks is the idea that we can fantasize about things that'll probably never happen. And the gap is like, oh, this is what I could do if I really, but here's where I am right now. And then there's this gap. And a lot of times we just instinctively fill it with guilt, shame, frustration. It's good to have 6-pack abs, but I'm a fat ass. And it's going to take me like a year or two of dieting and exercise to maybe get in that direction. And I have to, and every day I have to fill that gap. I have to take the shame out, take the guilt out, and fill it with appreciation for like the fact that I'm not perfect. Yes. I'm not Adonis. I'm not a god. I'm not Hercules.
No, that's just the North Star.
Yeah. And then also a big one being like, I want to quit smoking. And like the benchmark is stopping completely. But the reality is I can only cut down like from 5 cigarettes to 4 per day for a week, or else I'm going to go crazy. Yeah. And there's that gap again, like being realistic about, I can only break it down to like 1 cigarette every other day. Like, fine. Hold the line.
Hold the line.
Hold the line there. As fucking difficult that is about as much as you can tolerate. That's fine. Do that and then keep adding incremental. Let that part of your brain get bigger and bigger.
Yes.
So, David Galligans is in charge, something like that. But
stay hard, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Who's going to carry the boats? But yeah, it's fascinating to me when you get to a point that you can literally use neuroscience to understand how to, like, you use to influence your brain, to influence your future, to understand like I can expect and anticipate certain things from happening that when they happen, it doesn't catch me off guard, or I can put guardrails around myself. Like before I even moved down here, I had a big problem back in New York. I was making great money, but a lot of my downtime, I was just playing video games by myself. Because it just really isn't, like, a lot of my friends moved away. Social scene around New York is a little bit I was kind of already thinking about leaving. And I told one of my buddies before I got here, I was like, here's the deal. I'm going to give you like $2,000 cash. If you catch me playing like a video game by myself, I don't mind with friends. That's fine. But if you catch me playing by myself, I want you to like donate like $100 to charity every time. And after like 2 or 3 months, I actually never, be honest, I didn't give it to him. I did, like, once I got here, just hit the ground running. Everything was fine. But prior to that, I was thinking like, I know this is going to be a pitfall in the future. Sure. So I have to create some kind of barrier. And it might just be him telling him like, it might not hurt me enough to lose that money. If it's a lot of money, it wouldn't bankrupt me, but it would fucking suck. Like it's like, well, what if I just told him to just keep me accountable? That might not be enough. I might be able to just like lie and bullshit my way around it. Sure. What if I gave him a shit ton of money that would really fucking hurt? Then that's really going to keep me, for when those impulses hit, you really want to do it. There's like, yeah, but this is going to hurt even more.
Yeah. Was that sort of a avoidance or checkout technique for when existential pain hit in New York?
Yeah, it was boredom. It was things like that. It was just like, yeah, probably with boredom, again, could be like anxiety, depression. Again, not like what I noticed when I used to do massages was like, the day would fly by because I was talking to people, I was engaged with my clients, I was talking, having a good time. Mm-hmm. And but it just felt good. I could do like 7-8 hours of just talking to people. I loved it. My language center is probably gigantic too compared to most guys.
Likely.
Yeah.
As we can tell already.
Yeah, right here.
That's the ADD superpower, right?
Oh, yeah. But recognizing like there's nothing wrong with saying to yourself that you may need guardrails in areas of your life until you go bowling. The first time you go bowling, what do you put the bumpers up? Why? Because you suck. It's okay. Like, I'm trying to quit smoking. Like, you suck at quitting smoking, but why don't we just like put some guardrails up and say like, all right, I'm at 1 per day, or I'm going to text my friend or whatever. Put something in place somewhere externally that your mind can't get to convince you that it's okay to bypass it.
That's really good. Yeah, it's so easy to trick yourself or kick the can down the road or procrastinate.
Yeah, you convince yourself. It's like, it's okay, just a little further. It's just your own mind going through amazing mental gymnastics to convince yourself why the impulse you have is justified.
That mental gymnastics, man, that shit is so exhausting too. What a waste of cognitive and emotional energy. But I love, like, to your point about neurobiology and physiology, I love how it's crossing over with all the old modalities like Jungian analysis and like even current ones like paternal family systems. It all crosses over. It's the same phenomena, but now we know, like, in the brain and the nervous system, this is where these things spring from. Like, it's a really cool time because we're finally able to look inside and find out what's going on. But then there's some point where the science breaks down and it gets kind of unexplainable and it's hard to quantify. And that's where like Jungian theory and IFS and all of our psychological modalities come into play. Archetypally and metaphorically makes sense to humans because you can break everything down that's going on in the brain and your nervous system and they'll go, oh, that's cute. Now I know why. But nothing changes. You just you still have to go experience it. You have to have a direct felt experience, as Connor would say. But I love how that's happening now, and therapists and coaches are learning both and bringing both in. And this is so cool for men because we want to know why this shit's happening, but they want to know how to fucking fix it. And most therapy is like, we may get a little bit of why, but we don't get any fixes. Just like, tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel. And it's like, cool. What do I do? What does that mean? So I like how this is all sort of changing.
Yeah,
we need more men, therapists and coaches in the field. And it's happening. There's a big, I feel a big movement coming, which is really cool to be a part of. And you've now joined it. So good on you.
Absolutely. There is an interesting thing I kind of drew the connection to recently is like the right brain is, I think it's where most of your emotional processing is located. But the right brain also mostly operates in nonverbal.
Yep. It's emotional language.
So when we tell guys like, draw a picture, tell me what image you see in your head.
Image, exactly. Yeah.
So like, what do you notice in your body? And they're like, well, let me try to explain it to you with my words.
Exactly.
They're like, no.
That's left brain.
Yeah. And like, that's the science behind it. It's like, it's not, I'm trying to pull some voodoo witchcraft bullshit on you. I'm trying to literally get you to understand that like, you cannot use words to describe this problem. It's okay.
It's okay.
Totally fine. And this is just this. Here's the science of why you need to draw a picture from me. Here's the science of why I need you to like tell me what images you see when you think of this. It's just the way the brain operates. And I think it even ties back even to like the nice guy, nice girl, caveman behavior. This is the way I kind of see it, is like we've done a really, really good job of making the world extremely efficient, ridiculously efficient at getting things we want faster and faster and getting to certain solutions.
Amazon.
But what's up?
Amazon.
Yep. Amazon, Alibaba, crazy. But there are just certain things that you cannot make more efficient without breaking the system itself until we really have a complete top to bottom pharmacological and neurological understanding of the brain, which is going to be scary because then we're not humans anymore.
It makes me think of like it's going to try to happen. I was talking about this in earlier podcasts, the whole AI therapy. Actually, I was talking about this a lot with Phil Horning when we were driving at the Man and Civilized Men's Retreat. We're going to Happy Dog Ranch to do the horse work. And we had this great discussion about AI therapy. And one of the guys in our group worked in AI and he's really concerned about the state of the world. And we were talking about how they're going to try to do that. And he was afraid. And Phil and I were like, dude, I want them to, because it's going to fucking fail. There's no way. Like once you do that, and then you go sit with a real human and you do stuff with the right brain where you can't talk about it, but you can feel it. You can never get that with AI. On a computer screen. There's just no fucking way. You might get great CBT. You might get great answers to a question. That's it. So I hope it comes, because it's going to have a big bed shitting. It's going to be amazing.
I think that's a lot even with right now with BetterHelp and things like that. By the way,
and that's a human.
Video is not sponsored
exactly
at all. But it's trying to normalization of therapy is great, but it's also trying to like throw more of the same solution to the problem that it doesn't want to be solved by.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a scratching of the tip of the iceberg, which is a good start. Yeah, that's a good point. The whole online therapy, it's almost like AI therapy with a real human. But how much can you do even with text therapy? It's like, come on, man.
Words can't describe what I'm feeling right now.
Exactly.
Connor did this, I think, when the How to Work with Men thing, and he's working with one of the guys, and one of the guys, he had a problem where he was like alternating between, like, I think a woman he was seeing, and it was like, there's sometimes when we're like cozy, calm, great, and sometimes when it's just fucking chaos in the house. And I kind of like them both. We kind of almost create the dynamic. And he said, like, like close your eyes and get into a posture that reflects like calm, relax. And he kind of just like, got forward and slumped. And then like, all right, now what's excited, crazy? And he's just like kind of like popped back. And his body was kind of saying like, this is how it feels when we do certain things in certain ways. And you couldn't put it to words. And I think he had a hard time. Like, I don't know how to phrase it in words. Like, cool, demonstrate it. Interpretive dance. Give me something like a dance routine.
Fucking paint it or something. Yeah.
Paint it, do a song about it, write some poetry, whatever the fuck you need. Like, there's ways to target those parts of your brain that words just cannot get to. And it's nothing, that's not like there's something wrong with you. It's just a matter of just how your biology and psychology is wired.
Exactly. That's what Jung called active imagination.
Yeah.
Or you paint your dreams, like you flesh out your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Words fail at some point.
Yeah, but even with the AI thing, it's like, even back to, I think there may be something there also with relationships. And I think this is one of those things that you really can't efficient Amazon, Alibaba optimize. I'm reading 2 books, right? I'm listening to a book and reading a book because I'm fucking crazy like that. I don't do it at the same time. It's usually when I'm driving places and I'm listening to a book, I'm sitting down and read a book. I've been burning through books like crazy.
It knows where you left off, kind of thing.
Yeah, Audible. Yeah. Sponsor us, by the way.
Please.
I'm listening to Mating in Captivity by Estelle Perel. Yeah. And she makes a really good line in there. And it was spooky. I know Carl Jung is big on synchronicity. It was spooky is that I just read the chapter that was talking about like something she mentioned on the Audible as well, I listened to yesterday in the morning. And then that night I read the Dead Bedroom Fix, and he referenced that exact same section that I heard that day. It's fucking weird.
He said you're meant to pay attention to that because that's probably going to show up in your life now somehow.
Well, in a nutshell, basically made a point to say like, it was like women make the mistake of thinking that men are not as emotionally resilient as they could be, but then they want the men to like unfold in front of them, but then they don't realize how it's a turn. So it must go to turn, like a maternal instinct turn off, all that stuff. There's a line I just heard today that was really good. It was like, America really does a good job of making things very systematized and efficient, but eroticism is extremely inefficient.
Well, boy, yeah, that's not linear at all.
Yeah. And maybe it is efficient in its own way, in a way that we don't understand yet. I mean, not even that. It's just like the time scale it takes to get into the mood and why you find somebody attractive and all. All this stuff. And it's like, there's a thought I had was like, problem with trying to unpack the subconscious is that we're using the conscious to unpack the unconscious.
Yeah, that's a great statement, right?
And it's a really good ability. Like they were talking about in the evolution of desire, they were talking about how people really got upset when Charles Darwin came along and said, hey, it turns out we're a lot like monkeys. And people were just like, I refuse to believe that. I'm better than that. And that's just your own unconscious mind trying to protect itself from like the status that it's created amongst the world and all this stuff for all these centuries and years that we've collective ego that has come along. And yeah, until the people have a very hard time hearing like the truth around how certain behaviors operate. But even Esther Perel, she made a point about a woman that she was working with. It was a couples therapy, and she was very, very, very in control. She was like an executive and this and that in her life. But when she was in the bedroom sexually with her husband, she just loved that he was like absolutely in charge. He took over everything. He was masculine. He was dominating. He was throw her around. She was submissive as fuck. But then as soon as you went out to the real world, she was control. And she said like it took her a long time to be okay with the fact that it's okay to be like super sexually submissive, even though you're the boss bitch out in the rest of the world.
Yeah, and what a relief too. She could just let her hair down.
Yeah. And but then they kind of tied it into like, well, I think they brought up this topic at like a conference she went to, and they were like, this woman has a problem with the fact that like, you know, she doesn't like the fact that she likes to be sexually submissive in bed. And everyone's like, well, it must be patriarchy. It must be this. It must be because, you know, old. And she's like, everyone stopped. She's kind of stepped into like, they're in a consensually married and they do this voluntarily.
They talk it out.
And like they both agree to this. The problem is like it's something external that she can't figure out why she feels bad about it. But again, I was just like, I was trying to put an explanation. It's like, oh, it's because, and it's like, again, there might just be the cave woman and caveman in the back of your head. So it's like, the logical prefrontal cortex woman likes to have control in this, but cave woman likes to be tossed around the cave. Whatever. That's just what her kink is.
No shame.
And there's no shame in that. And it's just that same thing with men and women. It's like we're getting to a point where women are catching up dramatically and outperforming men. But I think there's maybe one of those things that you just can't get rid of. And this is my own interpretation as of now, based on what I've learned, that like, no matter how much of a boss bitch you become, there is still an underlying unconscious, subconscious attraction to a man who has some male masculine space in the relationship that he occupies. It might not be financial. It might not be, but like, you know, whatever it is, like I make more money than him, therefore I lost interest in him. It's like, well, also he's out of shape and he has no friends and he has no hobbies.
Yeah, and he's a boy.
Like, tell him to get in shape, tell him to make some friends, let him get a hobby. And even if you make 10 times what he makes, like, you'll probably find him attractive again.
Yeah. Because she just wants to feel safe on some deep biological level.
On some level somewhere in there. And I've seen this even with the dating apps. With that, it's like the dating apps is a whole other story. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Talk about the jungle.
Oh my God, yeah. It's funny seeing how many people, there's so many layers of things you see in those apps. But I think there was actually a picture of a woman I saw on the dating app, and one of her pictures was her holding up the for sale sign for the house she bought, and it just turned me off. And for me, it's like, okay, maybe, but I think there's a difficulty there. Like what I've been like this concept I'm kind of tossing around. It's like one of the couple women I actually went on first dates with recently, I realized like they had a certain defensiveness around them that I could pick up after doing massage therapy for 10 years as well as the coaching thing, emotionally attuned and all that stuff. That like
bodily attuned.
Yeah, that they had a certain aura of defensiveness. They were kind of saying like, this is how I do things. This is my structure. This is my life. Could you fit in somewhere? And I think the bigger problem is like, a lot of women don't understand that part of your attraction to a man, especially heterosexual, is in his ability to allow him to peacock for you.
And so when you saw the for sale sign picture, you're like, I will never be able to peacock for that person, or she might shut that down.
Or she might just have like a rigid control of the household and all this, and she's not really willing to give it because she's established herself. But she's kind of created this like, I don't say a fortress of herself, but it's like she's
like a defense.
She's built this structure on herself, and there's just no room to dance.
That's what it comes off like. Yeah.
And I think a lot of women, are doing, I've heard plenty of stories from people I've worked with in massage where it's like, oh, I know a girl, she's 34, 35, and she's successful in her business and this, and there's a house, and she just can't find any guys. And it's like, well, are there no good guys out there? Or are you not allowing their space to let a man dance for you in some way that you could then allow yourself to be attracted to?
Yeah, or maybe there's a mix of both. Because there is a lot there. I have heard that say, where have all the good men gone? And like, well, if I always think of like Trevor Boehm's amazing book, Man and Civilized, where he talks about the Marlboro Man and the sense of New Age guy. Neither of those are attractive to women. And those are the options we've been pretty much given. You know, if we're like, be strong and independent and lone wolf, it's attractive to some guys, or grovel and be a boy and codependent and you tell me who to be, then they have to be mommy. That's not attractive to women. That's where all the guys have gone. And society told us to go pick one of those boxes. What are we supposed to do? You know, there's got to be a third option. Third option, I think, is bringing those two together. They have things to teach each other. We got to shed what's not good about them, but they both have things to inform each other about. Put the two together and you have what Dewey calls structure and softness once again. And I think that's a good version of healthy masculinity. That's probably going to be attractive to women.
Oh yeah, it is. But the challenge there is the Dead Bedroom Fix book. Very funny. I'm actually having him on my podcast in about 2 weeks. I'm looking forward. Okay. Like literally after I finished it, I emailed him and they're like, please come on. He's like, let's fucking do it. I'm like, awesome. Thank you.
That'd be a good one.
But he mentioned, one part of the book he mentions, like when you start doing things for yourself, when you start working out and getting hobbies and kind of just doing your own thing in a healthy way, it's like, don't just abandon your family and kids to go like, I'm going to find myself. Like, no, I'm going out with the boys. Where? To a bar. What bar? Like, I promise I'll be safe. I'll see you later. A little bit of like mystery, a little bit of like, I have my autonomy and control. And he mentions how a lot of times women, and this happens with men too, but it's like in this case, women will be like, it'll set off an alarm signal in their head. Like an anxiety alarm will go off. Something's different. He's changing.
He's
could it be he's cheating? Is he this? Is he that? He's going to leave me? But and he says like when they might start throwing shit. They might start poking at it. They might start saying things. They might start like shit testing you. A big one. And he's like, if this is happening, if you're moving in the right direction, this is a good thing. If she's doing this, it's a good thing.
That's
because then the challenge then, this is like back to that fortress thing, is like she may now have to start to tweak the fortress a little bit. And that's where the fear and the work comes from, because you've been so comfortable with this castle for so long. And now he's coming along saying, actually, I wanted to get an extension to build a garage over there. And you're just like, well, I don't really want to change this. I'm comfortable with my routines. But you don't realize your routines are what's reinforcing your lack of attraction towards him.
Yep. It's
amazing. So, there's like a societal collective thing, I think, where men, we want men to be more integrated, but we also want women to understand like that your ability to become attracted to a man is independent of what you want it to be. You have to kind of respect that there are just, and when I say that, I mean, I'm pointing to the statistics of like 70% of marriages that fall apart when like, the man makes less money or he's got like erectile dysfunction. And then the erectile dysfunction or like the difficulty there and the insecurity is a function of his ability to be like hold a masculine space in the relationship. And she lost interest in him and the sex stopped. And it's not saying, let's go back to the 1940s and, you go back to being a housewife, but asking the question like, how do you create a space where you allow him to peacock for you and dance for you in a way that gets you sexually aroused for him enough that he feels sexually satisfied with you to have a healthy relationship? Even if you still want to be the boss bitch making all the money, it's fine. But you still have to have a stage somewhere in the house.
And she doesn't have to run on the masculine and she can peacock her own femininity, wherever the female version of that is.
Yeah.
That there's some yin and yang there, and spectrum-y kind of archetypal masculine, feminine stuff going on, of course. But you gotta leave room for the biology.
That's leaving space for the cavemen. That's exactly inviting them into your house and not being judgmental of them or critical of them, because they've occupied space for a really fucking long time in our brains, and they're not going anywhere. And then the flip side of that is like, well, how long evolutionarily till we can change this? If you want to wait a couple billion years, you might get there.
100,000 years, at least.
Yeah, 100,000 years is a blink of the eye. Even that, it's like I think. I was just thinking about this earlier, and it's really, Jordan Peterson talks about this with his obsession with lobsters.
Yeah, that's right.
But he talks about like the serotonin and the serotonergic circuitry in lobsters is very similar in the nervous systems of human beings.
No shit.
And he talks about like one of his first rules in his first book was stand up straight with your shoulders back. Yep. And he makes the point to say like lobsters at the bottom of the ocean, what the males will do is they'll get into fight during mating season and try to like, battle each other out and clip off their claws or whatever. But the winner, when the winner wins, he gets like a hit of serotonin and he just gets like, yeah, ladies, do you see this? Oh man. And you could literally, if you take a lobster and you inject it with serotonin, it will just start walking around like, I feel fucking great. Holy shit. Look at me. Yeah. But then the losers will then withdraw. They'll get almost like a pullback on serotonin, and you can see in their posture immediately they kind of withdraw. And so the idea is like you can kind of reverse engineer. How do I be more confident, feel good? Well, what posture can I take that would give a shot of serotonin or whatever to do?
Power pose.
Yeah, but the idea then being that like this nervous system wiring is way the fuck older than anything you can comprehend in terms of. Like, well, we need to have new gender roles and dynamics. And it's like the cave woman doesn't give a fuck.
It does.
She wants to see the big tough guy. You don't have to have 6-pack ripped abs and be 7 feet tall with $900 million a year in the bank. But you should be like, I was thinking about this today or a couple days ago. And it's like, I think hypergamy can kind of be redefined into she's attracted to the version of the man you could be if you worked at it. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, but you want, like, they made a cross and up from where you are right now and are moving towards.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're not in the best of shape, but you're working on it, you don't have a ton of money, but you're working hard at your career, that ties in perfectly with how women find attractiveness towards men who have a future prospective ability to procure resources. He's not rich now, but he's hardworking. He's not in great shape, but he's going to the gym.
Yeah, you can see the efforts.
Like he's got a temper, but he's going to therapy. Like I can see the effort, and now I'm attracted to the guy he's going to eventually be. He may never get there entirely, but he's on the way, and that's the attraction.
The striving, yeah.
So doing the things that can put you into that mindset, that framework will then cause her to be attracted to you. And that's just the cave woman attracted to the caveman. And even when you're like, anybody's ever really had like uncontrolled, untamed monkey sex, you know the feeling. I don't know how else to word it. But when you literally don't even know what day it is, what year it is, you forgot you even had kids, like you don't give a shit. Time and space, just like that is caveman banging cave woman all up and down the cave.
That's deep intimacy right there.
Yeah. And then like find a way to let them have their dance in the house, in your relationship, and whatever it may be. And then after that, go back to the roles you have preset that makes the world go around. It's fine.
I don't know if that's our version of the lobster and serotonin, because that's what gets dumped after you orgasm, like prolactin and serotonin. It's weird that with the lobster, it's serotonin and they get jacked up because that's sort of like the chill out neurotransmitter. It's not a modulator.
Maybe it's reverse. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, it basically they show like when the lobsters win, they will actually kind of like go, yeah, I'm fucking awesome. Look at me go. Ooh.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's like, this is my sense. It's like when you learn to understand and respect your neurochemistry, you really can get like so much more done in the world, more in your life too. It's like, well, I need to be more risk seeking in a healthy way. I need to be more confident and masculine. It's like, here's a funny one, like testosterone. Like lowers your anxiety and increases your tolerance for life. Lowers your anxiety is a big one. Does other things too. I mean, like, deeper voice, but if it's like, if you're doing activities that naturally stoke testosterone, you're going to naturally start walking around without thinking about it in ways that advertise you have higher testosterone because you do activities that foster testosterone. And one of them was like lowers anxiety. And lowers anxiety for men is a big one because it also, we say like, oh, it increases your risk tolerance. Like, no, it actually decreases your sense of, oh shit, this can go wrong. You're not concerned about it anymore. And then therein lies the attraction most women see. It's like, oh, he has healthy risk tolerance. Why? Because he has healthy testosterone. Why? Because he goes to the gym, he eats clean, he gets sunlight on his face every day. He goes to sleep at a regular time every day. But the idea being that like when your testosterone is in natural ranges, depending on how old you are, I mean, it's going to drop off with age. Maybe you're past a certain point, you need testosterone replacement therapy, sure. Yeah. But certain behaviors you can do and certain tasks you can take on in your life can increase your testosterone. This all ties back to like the massive framework from start to end. It's like, how do I get a girlfriend and a wife and kids? It's like, okay, well, where do you start? You need to do activities that, will increase your natural serotonin and testosterone, create boundaries that are going to do it. What's that going to be? Like you need friends for serotonin, you need to work out and eat clean and sleep well for testosterone. And that's going to like then put you in a better headspace, which is going to then increase your ability to take healthy risk. And when you take more healthy risk, girls are going to start to notice you. And when you're doing that, it's going to encourage your friends to be better. Well, how do I do all that? Like we have to do the things you don't want to do. Well, what is that going to do? It's going to strengthen your cingulate cortex. It all comes back to like find a way to do the things you don't want to do to stoke your natural hormones to increase the way they should increase outside of exogenous or external.
And fighting the microplastics problem.
What was that?
And fighting the microplastics endocrine disruptor.
Yeah, not getting attacking our nuts right now and all that stuff.
It's all another layer.
Yeah, that's a whole other funny thing. Like there's like a credit card in my ass right now from any microplastics I've had, probably.
Barely eat a lot. You got to eat like a lot of fiber. That helps.
Yeah. Fiber just helps. You just shit out an Amex card one day.
Exactly. It does help. Apparently, I was listening to Dr. Rhonda Patrick talk about this. She's done a lot of good stuff on microplastics. Fiber really helps. Cruciferous vegetables, sauna, things like that, and then avoiding like especially black plastics. Apparently, plastics that are black are like usually recycled electronics. So cool. I'm eating flame retardant. Sweet. That's gotta be good for my endocrine system.
You're gonna run out of like a burning building. Like I'm fine.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
I've been eating a lot of black plastic for a while now. I'm good.
But it's really fucking nuts if you think about it. But there are ways to reduce, which is good.
Yeah.
It is becoming an issue, and then all the pollution in the environment and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, there are ways to raise your T, and always get your blood work if you're feeling down and depressed and you've maybe tried some antidepressants and not working, therapies not working. Go get blood work and find out, because a lot of times it is low T. And there are supplements and creams. Or TRT, which is a nuclear option, but then you got to be on it for the rest of your life, which is, it's not the greatest, but if you can't make it anymore.
Yeah. And it's just, to me, it's like when you understand like that whole sequence of events, it's like, well, I need to voluntarily put up guardrails that gets me to do the things that I don't want to do, so that over time it's going to start to restructure my own neurochemistry and more hormonal biology in a way it's going to passively, without me thinking about it, start to act, to behave a certain way. It's going to telegraph and flag to the women in my life. This is for like a man trying to improve his life. Telegraph to the women in his life that like he's actually more interesting than you thought he was, because he's sending off signals of things you don't realize. Like the serotonin, the buff thing, whatever it may be. It's like, I think with guys, girls only want guys who have 6-pack abs and big. It's like, no, girls want guys who can demonstrate discipline. And when you work out, it's a demonstration of discipline.
How many women
say like, what's up?
How many women have you seen with guys that they don't have that? They're just guys, but they're in their masculine, whatever that means, like healthy masculine, but they're not like jacked, but they're strong dudes. Yeah, they're emotionally available, and they can, like, what does Trevor Boehm say? Be dangerous, but not a danger. Like,
yes,
it's that, but they may not be like 4% body fat. They might be, but I've seen many women attracted to the inner man versus the outer man first. I think guys were attracted to the outer feminine, the way they look, and then the way they are, just sort of go back to the biology, that's just kind of the way we're wired. Women kind of have it reversed. It's probably nature's natural population control would be all over the place.
There's a whole topic we can touch into that, is like when you start to lower your sense of your own personal standards, you lower the quality of woman you will tolerate.
That's interesting.
And then it leads to a whole problem for like a multi-generational world. Like, well, my grandfather dated a bitchy woman, and my father dated a bitchy woman, and but they all hated themselves, and they had no sense of a spine, so they ended up like creating this whole thing. Yeah,
that's the thing for sure. Yeah, intergenerational legacy burdens and internal family systems.
Yeah.
Like the cultural crap that's been handed down to how you're supposed to choose. The template you're given feeds into attachment theory, all that fun stuff.
I remember seeing this video. It was a YouTube clip, whatever it was, and it was a really skinny guy running, but it wasn't. He was just like a cross country running dude. And the video was like a girl, and she's just like, when your boyfriend's on another run, and she's like kind of like and she shows like the like recording him and recording herself, like another run, oh my god. And he's super duper skinny. He's really fucking lanky, and every comment was like, really? You like, she was gorgeous. Like, you're with him? Seriously? What the fuck? That's it. And then eventually you find the comment like, this dude's an Olympic marathon runner.
They're bean pulled.
They are skinny, but they're fucking disciplined. And she probably looks at him and said like, yeah, that's this sexy to me.
There you go.
That is really sad. And just so looking at a person, you can't make an assumption about like, why are you with him? Like, there's something he does somewhere in his life that is triggering her cave woman in a healthy way that they have come to accept and work with. And then the flip side of that is like, this was the dead bedroom fix at the beginning of the book. It says something along the line, kind of like a disclaimer of like, okay, if you tried everything and you're still not working, get your hormones checked. Go see a doctor. It could be something bigger. And it was something in the book that it's like, but if you're a woman and your guy is doing all this, but he doesn't want to have sex with you. It was like, he was like flat out. He's like, go to the gym, make yourself look younger. Like, I wish I could argue with the biology, but I can't. Guys are just attracted to youthfulness, whether you like it or not. There's things you could probably do in a relationship. Just like, just dress nicely, dress this, maybe wear, and it's, I was thinking about it. I was at a gym today, and it's just like, there's plenty of women that you'll see walking around with like the tight booty shorts and whatnot. And you see like the older woman, and you're like, I can't decide not to find the younger one hotter. It just hit me. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And so there is an element of just personal accountability, I think, to both sides. It's like, there's a good comedian who was talking about this, and he was talking about how like a lot of people get mad that like, the romance and everything is not as hot and sexy as it used to be. And he's like, you need to be honest with yourself. Are you within 5 pounds of your first date weight? You can get mad at me, or you can get a treadmill. It's your choice.
And we are biologically wired to spread seed, so it's like, when we're 60, you see a lot of those 6-year-old guys dating 25-year-olds, and we judge that, but it's like, it's kind of like, go back 800,000, 2,000 longer amount of years, that would happen. You go on your second, third wife to have more children.
Yeah.
To have more princes and princesses or whatever. We're just attracted because somewhere in our fucking monkey brains is like, I know that woman will produce offspring and this woman will not. Even though I might love that woman deeply, my biology is still attracted to the 25-year who's fertile. We can't get rid of that. And as much as that might piss off our culture and maybe listeners right now, it's a societal thing we have to contend with.
Yeah, well, we're seeing, like, I love that nature abhors a vacuum thing. It's like we're kind of seeing it pop up in certain ways. And it's like, well, a lot of the sexual revolution and things like that, and there's a whole discussion we have, it's like women trying to fuck like men. And until you start to really dramatically turn us into robots and download a program you want, like, oh, I have an app on my iSelf and I can decide if the man fuck program, okay, whatever it's going to be.
You can create it.
That it's just like there is just hormonal and neurological differences between men and women that are just going to lead to certain outcomes that you can't argue with it. You can try to get mad about it, but you really can't change it. And realistically, I think even with the case of like the sexual revolution, like you really kind of took the brakes off of guys now having as much sex as they wanted, but even less consequences, which is kind of the idea of having marriage in the first place.
Maybe that's where low T comes into play for as you age, because maybe sex gets less interesting and it's more just about the deep loving bond, and you see the 75-year-olds together and they're like, it's cool. And like, I don't really care about the sexual part anymore. And maybe it's a different phase of life, different level of relationship than, like the guys we're talking about right now.
There's 2 books I could recommend if you're interested in reading. It's by Luann Brizendine. It's The Male Brain and the Female Brain.
I've read The Female Brain, not the
Yeah, she has a male brain version of it too. And she talks about how like guys get older, testosterone gets lower. And as it gets lower, they get a little bit more touchy-feely, sentimental, because by comparison, their estrogen is a little higher, oxytocin's a little bit higher. And it's not unusual that women will find these men more attractive if it's like, well, he's able to actually connect with me emotionally and talk to me, this and that, and actually I feel seen by him versus the 21-year-old who's just a complete goofball. And it's just kind of who we're wired to be at that age. We just can't
No prefrontal cortex,
Yeah, it's literally not online yet. But getting people to, my cat is really rubbing now.
Yeah, we can't see her.
She's right below the camera, literally.
She knows where it's at.
But it's being respectful of your biology and your hormones, and rather than just arguing and being mad about it, because it's, I don't know. I think there's what I said earlier about like how we can fantasize about worlds that don't exist yet, but it's just like, will they exist? Maybe, but at what cost? And is it really worth it in the long run? And
those are good questions. How do we balance it? Yeah. Because we do have the prefrontal cortex and we can override our impulses and decisions and make higher order level decisions. But we can't just boot the biology at the same time. I think we have to have the integration of both.
This is what I was getting to. Yeah, the nature abhors a vacuum thing. It's like you can tell women, oh, you'll be happier if you don't have kids and you'll be happier with your career, whatnot. And like the vacuum is like, well, there was a really strong inclination towards having kids that is a combination of biological and social in nature. That what do we see? We see like the dating apps is one of the things. I just see how many friggin' women I see like, my dog is basically my child.
Oh man, that's always a red.
I have 6 cats. And it's not like, okay, but if we're being honest, and if you don't want to, I know you want to hear this, but if we're being honest, like it's basically something of a substitute for the child that part of your back of your monkey brain was probably looking for without realizing.
Very well could be. Yeah.
Not always, but enough. I mean, like I say not always, and of course there's exceptions and people get mad we don't include the exceptions. But when we start looking at statistical significance, I think like the largest cohort of people on antidepressants. Oh my God, my cat. There she is.
No, Calico.
She's out of her fucking mind. She runs the apartment, basically.
Speaking of children, you've got yours.
Yeah, I got 2 cats. Basically my kids right now. But
what's that setting off in your brain?
Yeah, right. I've had cats since I was a kid. It's just kind of like an ongoing thing. But what was I just getting at? It was just
nature.
It pours a vacuum. So it's like there's something's gonna have to try to fill that gap, and it's either gonna be like, pets, or maybe you're like a nurturing person, that like the kind of work you'd like to do, whatever it may be. But I think that's the largest cohort of people who are on antidepressants right now, as far as I'm aware, is women over 40 who are single and childless.
Interesting.
Like the largest growing percentage, to the point that like there was like a JP Morgan report that went out several years ago that was so funny. Like they estimated by 2030, like 50% of women over 40 are going to be single and childless, to the point that they said, start investing in wine and cat food. They literally told investors, like, yeah, start buying in those stocks now, bro, because they're going to skyrocket in like 10 years. I promise you.
Oh my God.
I wish I was joking. It's literally a report that came out from like some major investment bank. It was fucking hysterical. But again, it ties back to this idea of like, it's wanting everything and can't having it all at the same time.
Yeah, we got to right the ship or else we're going to have population decline.
We will. And it's going to and I think it will balance itself out. It's like when you get rid of all the wolves, the rabbits get out of control, but eventually a wolf comes up and like gets it back under control. But if you kill all the rabbits and the wolves starve up, it's just going to balance itself out on like a social and cultural and societal level that we're kind of seeing it already now with like women who are pulling like the trad wife movement.
Yeah, it's coming back. Do you know Peter Zion, the geopolitician?
No.
He's amazing. And he always talks about these things. And like, he wants a pyramid, right? Where the top is elderly and the middle is like our age. And then you have the youngsters. Right? Yeah, China and Russia are inverted. Like the one child policy hosed them. They can't produce a child that's 20 right now. You got to wait. And we're kind of in the chimney shape. So we're at a choice point if we want to get back to the diamond or we want to invert, and then we have the same kind of problems they're having. So we've got to get rid of these dumb gender wars and get back to, I think we're working it out. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to have kids, but I think society has to have some kids. I mean,
yeah, and I think this ties back. Like I remember watching this video. Have you heard of Ho math?
No.
It's literally a guy who's just like it's funny. It's like he's like I'm a master at Ho economics. But it's funny.
Bro science.
Yeah, it's not really bro. He uses a lot of he basically does pictures. Everything he does is just all in pictures and whatnot in order to demonstrate ideas. But he does a very, very good job of explaining like this is where we are right now. Here's the sequence that got to where we at. And it's really like goofy hand drawn pictures. But usually what he'll do is like reviews or like response videos to other people saying this. And one of the videos he did response to was like the 4B movement in Korea. And I understand it on some level. It's like women are basically overworked because it's like we want you to be mother and have lots of kids and also work a full-time job. But it's too fucking much.
That's a tough ask.
But then the flip side was like, but then the men had complete power over the household and they had no influence. So like what we're seeing, I think what happened, in my opinion, is that we tapped into an absolute fucking oil well of untapped intelligence from having women enter the workforce. We have a lot of technological advancements happen because of men and women working together, whereas before they really couldn't. My cat's back, by the way. But the problem is like, how do we then allow women to tap into their own innate intelligence to contribute to society as a whole, technological advancements and whatnot, while also having space for them to have family and kids and whatnot, but while also at the same time encouraging people who are in more competitive domains to remain competitive. Like I remember I had a patient years ago. Her husband was a police officer and she was a lawyer, and she got pregnant. She had a kid. She took like a year or two off, something like that, maybe a little longer. And when she came back, she was like, a lot of my male colleagues got promoted. And I was like, because you weren't fucking there. Sorry. So that's not fair because I had to have kids. But if we look at this as take a step back, it's like, did your husband get a promotion at that time? Is he making more money? Yeah. So your household collectively is making more. So like maybe your male lawyer colleagues make more, but then their wives didn't.
Yeah, it's a team thing.
And so what we're trying to do is like eliminate competition while also allowing people to be competitive. It's a tough balancing act to figure out, like, how do you allow women to contribute intellectual capital to the world while also encouraging them to have families and and there is something of a sacrifice somewhere. And I think the trad wife movement is probably a lot of women saying like, wow, we tried this whole working thing and it sucks. I don't like it as much. Or 30 years old comes around, they're just like, I don't know why, but I want kids really fucking badly now.
Yeah.
But trying to find a healthy dynamic. But the problem being is like, we're getting to a point where we're saying like, well, why couldn't a woman, this ties back to something I said earlier, like why couldn't a woman have a full-blown, awesome, ultra career and also have family and kids? And to me, the problem is the efficiency thing back from like, Amazon, Alibaba, is like, you can't really time optimize the need for time with your children at younger ages to make sure they are developmentally secure.
That's huge.
At a young age to make sure they're not going to be crazy when they're older.
Yeah. You throw them in daycare for 8, 9, 10
Some daycares are good, but it's like, okay, then what happened? We lost the community. What was the community? Well, you don't live near your friends and family, your parents or grandparents or grandma. I connected with a girl on the app the other day, and she's like, just cute. But I remember I said like, oh, what's up for this weekend? She's like, oh, I'm going to going out to dinner with my parents for Mother's Day. And also we're going to go see my grandma. And I was like, we're going to fucking talk. Like, I'll be honest, that is a huge green flag that you literally have family nearby that you get along with. That's a massive green flag for me.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the girls, and they're attractive and whatnot, but it's like, oh, my family lives halfway across the country. I'm like, okay, we'll see, we'll talk. But part of me moving down to Georgia was being closer to friends around my age who are also trying to build families of their own, so that maybe someday I have a family. We all kind of like build this thing together, build our own little community. But it's like there is a certain quantity of time and energy, and time, especially time in particular, you need. It's like when a baby starts crying, you can't, short of inoculating it, giving it some kind of like drugs to calm it down. The only thing you really do is like hold it until it calms down in its own time.
You're supposed to do that.
You're supposed to do that.
Regulation.
It's co-regulation. You're teaching the kids co-regulation, and when we don't do that, so let them cry it out. Why? So we can keep working.
That's the worst thing.
Oh yeah, it's fucking disastrous. But it's like
borderline child abuse.
Yeah, but it's like let them cry it out is a nice way of saying like, oh, we have more time to work now because they're just crying themselves to sleep. But it's like that time that you put towards work, you have to take it and give it back to your kids. Mm-hmm. So then you don't benefit as much from your own financial capital, but you're investing in your future generational capital. And this is just this is like a time allocation I don't think you can do to a certain degree, and I don't and without sacrificing something. So it's like, how do we get to a point where people have the ability? I don't think they can. I don't think you can. I think
it's always a trade-off.
You can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, it's always a trade-off. The guy's going to sacrifice, the woman's going to sacrifice somehow.
And the perception is like men don't sacrifice. It's like a lot of guys fucking wish they could not work and be home with their family 24/7.
I want to see my kids, but I'm working all fucking day. I see them for a couple hours before I go to bed, and then I get the weekends. Is that fair? Like, that sucks. That really does.
And the flip side is like how many families now are like, I spoke with a women's coach a while back. I'm friendly with her. And she mentioned a funny thing, which was talking about like a lot of guys in particular, they'll go to work all day, they'll come home. They don't realize what it feels to be like touched out.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, like too much physical contact. That's why, like, I'll tell people, it's like, if you want to know what that feels like, go get a 3-hour massage. By hour 2, you're going to go fucking crazy. Like, get your hands the fuck off. The first hour felt amazing, but your body's like, you need to stop. This is too much.
All the oxytocin's gone bye-bye.
Yes, it's tapped out of your system. Like an hour.
That's definitely a thing for women, and that does, when women have small kids, that's why it's hard for men to engage in sex, because like, bro, I've touched all day long. I got no more touches to give. That's absolutely a factor too.
But then within that is like the community thing. Like, well, how could you have absolved that? Way, way back in the day, we'd just be fucking other people's wives. But the other side of that is like, well, you'd have grandma or grandpa and siblings nearby to take the kids away so she can get a break. And then maybe while she's taking a break, you two are going at it, and then she comes back, gets the kid back again, and it's just a nice little balance of things. But when we have everybody trying to work 24/7, we're pulling from future generations. And we're pulling time from future generations that they need to become the people that we are today.
That's so true.
And it's just going to blow up in our... I think, like, I remember, I mentioned this before, I think on the last podcast, but I have this idea of like productivity creep. And it's like Instacart, for example, you can pull up to a place and they just bring the food out right for you immediately. And what does it do? It saves you time, so you don't have to physically walk in the store to get the stuff. So you can go right back home. Well, okay, what are you giving up in the process? You're not walking around. You're not able to like check out new products. Maybe you bump into somebody you know. If you have kids, they get to practice socializing and behaving in public.
True. Yeah.
Like you're getting hits of like serotonin, and just like you're getting blood flow into your system, just walking around doing stuff. You exchange all of that. Like, I saved an hour. Now I can work more, watch Netflix.
You can work more.
Like, you can't put a price on, like your productivity went up, but what did you sacrifice in exchange?
Always a trade-off.
There's a trade-off there. And I think that trade-off is like, this is why I like this small town kind of areas, because it's like people are just chill, they're slower, they're relaxed. And
what's that? What's that Thomas Sowell quote? There are only no trade-offs.
There are no solutions, only compromises.
Yeah.
And just recognize, I think within there, it's like until you can start to get more time which physics isn't there just yet. There's a certain things in your life require a certain amount of time that you cannot exactly quantify, that if you take it away from them, it's going to cause problems down the road. I think one of those things is like things like relationships and child rearing and like the time it takes for you to calm down and enjoy it, whatever you enjoy yourself, or like eroticism, like the irrationality of it. It's like how long does it take you to get in the mood? It's like that in itself is a fucking killer right there.
I don't have time for it.
Yeah. One thing to say is they'll do a quickie, sure, but like
no spontaneity, no whatever.
Yeah, but in general, it's like they're just we're pulling time from other places in our life and trying to make a compromise for it. And we're seeing it in the form of people who are growing up and who are like emotionally dysfunctional and dysregulated, who have the shittiest nervous systems ever. Why? Because your family let you cry it out, because your mom wasn't around, because her mom wasn't around, because her mom wasn't around, and just back the whole change. And
at least in the Victorian era, they had fucking nannies and shit, you know, like.
What was that?
At least in the Victorian era, they had like nannies and wet nurses. Like somebody was there. The baby wasn't crying.
But I think even in the nanny case, it's like that was only reserved for the aristocracy and and like the 100%. Really affluent people. Or most other people had to just go on the ground level and just survive down there.
Yep.
So, and even then, it's like if you were to, I'm sure if you go back in time and like find ways of metric of objective happiness, I'd be willing to bet like even though it sounds crazy, the rich people probably weren't as happy as they would say they were, and the poor people were like, this sucks, but I have a feeling of fulfillment and purpose to it.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I bet you if they could measure it, you would find that. I mean, you sort of see that now. They've done those studies where they go to really poor indigenous cultures and their levels of happiness seem to way outweigh what we have, and we have all the.
And you're kind of like, you're kind of happy with what you don't know. You can't say you can't have. But this is also the problem that ties into like the dating apps, which we can now try and touch into a little bit, is like fucking every profile is exactly the same, first off.
Maybe they're using ChatGPT.
Maybe, but I don't know. But I see the same thing, and I think a lot of men fall into the same trap of like women saying like, oh, I just want you to be kind, be honest, and be yourself. And it's like, and you probably want me to be a bit of a douchebag too, just a little bit. But you're not going to put that in your profile because you're going to immediately attract the super douchebag. It also, but with the women or men and women, I guess for women in particular, because they have more of a selection bias and that's in our favor, is that there is a misinterpretation of comparison to men that you're not actually going to be able to access. I connected with a girl the other day. We actually hit it off pretty well immediately, and I look at her location. I know where I'm literally there. So I Google it. It's like, oh, it's a 4-hour drive. I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing this. No, what the fuck? But I can see in a world where, like, if you're a super duper lonely guy and you connect to somebody who's 7 hours away and they really hit it off, and you're like, I will hop on a fucking plane.
I'll make it work. Yeah,
I'll make it work because I am so fucking desperate. But in reality, maybe there's women closer to you that it would work, but they're not looking at you for some particular reason. And so, there's a lot of problems there with like this. It's like you don't know what you like. Why did people get along better, decently-ish, more successfully in the past? Because they didn't have to compete with every other fucking village in the area for the men and women there.
Yep. Now we're competing with thousands of villages.
Yeah. Realistically, you only ever want to compete with my cat again.
She really wants to be part of the podcast. She has a lot to say about what we're talking about. She's keeping her ass in the camera. She might think that this whole thing sucks.
But that it's recognized. This is recognizing your biology. I heard this good phrase. It was like protecting your marriage, protecting your relationship. And part of that is like, I have a buddy of mine who basically told his now fiance, it's like, listen, if we start dating, I'm not cool with you going on like girls trips. And girls trips being like, going to the club with your girls, going to like, it's like specific things where it's like, it's one thing if you want to go to like, an Airbnb with your friends at the beach, whatever. But like certain types of trips, like I don't like the idea of you being in circumstances where the likelihood of you bumping into a really persuasive guy when you're in like a one night, when you're pissed at me one night because something, he just tells you what you want to hear and all of a sudden you make a mistake.
Yeah, that's
he didn't say like, you can't. It's like, if you want to be with me, that's just what I ask. And I think that's kind of a healthy way of saying like, well, that's cool. And maybe in exchange, I'm not cool with you, like working in a job where there's a ton of single women around. Something like that. I don't know what the exact analogy would be. But it's recognized, like it's like 85% of affairs begin in the workplace.
Really?
Something like that. It's like it's a huge fucking number.
I mean, I guess you're around
the same people. You're working on a project together. There's the vasopressin.
Maybe exactly, and maybe more hours spent than around you.
Yeah, more than your actually own whereas back in the day, you worked together on the farm together with your kids around.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
So like you're getting serotonin hits, you're getting familiar with them. Like they only see you like a certain amount of day. You're working a lot of hours. You're working on a project together. You're not working with your home. I see this a lot with like. This ties back, and I'm going all over the fucking place today, I apologize. But this ties back to like the building your fortress and trying to find someone to fit into it. a lot of couples I saw that were successful in my massage practice were the couples that like had something they were building together in a way.
Yeah, it's a team.
Yeah, but you don't realize, even with the neurochemistry, it's like you kind of need to get that vasopressin hits when you do stuff together. And the people who it's like, we didn't have anything, but we built something together. And like they've got just, and maybe somewhere along the way, a really hot guy comes along, a really hot girl comes along, but it's like, that's coming up against, you know, like decades of memories of us doing shit together to solve problems. Is it really worth it for that one piece of hot ass for one night versus all that I built here? Whereas if you meet somebody and you're like, you know, 30, 40, whatever it is, and you're super established, and you just say like, oh, I do my thing, you do your thing. There's no buffer against that. There's no buffer against the human psychology and biology. It's going to be taking place in the back of your head.
Unless that's the kind of person. Unless you're in an open relationship and you're both.
And even open relationships don't fucking work. The stats around those are terrible. Polyamory is a disaster too.
You think?
I think like around like divorce and things like that. It's like the second somebody says, this is one of the lines in the book, it was like, my wife asked me if I want, it was like a frequently asked questions or just questions people posted online. And one of the questions from the guys was like, my wife just asked me about if she's interested in having an open relationship. And the guy was like, she's cheating on you. Don't even fucking question second guess. Like the odds of her cheating on you is so ridiculously high because she finally worked up the courage to ask you, which means she's probably built a really strong emotional buffer with this guy, or maybe a guy to the girl, that if this falls apart, he or she can go right off to that.
Wouldn't that go back to our human biology too, though?
How so?
Because if you think of like the book Sex at Dawn, we were in villages and everyone was getting down with each other, and nobody really knew who each other's kids actually were, but we would protect every kid because you're like, that could be my kid. You know, or look at bonobos, like the primate that we're most closest to. Those guys are not monogamous. You know, the only primates that are actually monogamous are us and gorillas. The only ones that choose monogamy.
Yeah, but
so that's there.
With the bonobos,
so open relationships could be a thing.
With the bonobos, though, there was an element that they talked about. It's like we generally compete on a more large scale level. It's like I will physically put myself together and fight another dude in order to get access to a female. Bonobos, people are like, oh, but they just hang out and they fuck everybody. And they don't care. Like they actually do care. And the proof was that like the females or the males had a certain way that their sperm, while it was like in the females, was actually competing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it does.
And even in that case, we could look at like the shape of the male penis, the human male penis, and it's like it looks like a scrubber. And there's a theory that like it actually is meant to like try to pull out competing sperm. And then even on top of that, there was a theory that basically said like women faking orgasm was a way to try to like sedate males who may have been like more sexually aggressive so that they can then sleep with the male they want to sleep with. And when they were actually really aroused by that male, they would have a genuine orgasm, which would then lead to the cervix actually doing its suction action, pulling up that sperm specifically.
So through polyamory, we get to monogamy somehow, or we get to the.
I think people will try it out. They'll try it out, but at some point,
nature finds a way.
It's not even nature finds. I personally think, and I might be fucking crazy for this one. Like there is a community aspect, but I think the question is like, what level of sexual access do you want to have within the community? So it's like if I grew up if I had a house in a neighborhood, like I'll watch my neighbor's kids, but like there's still a level of like, yeah, but I still care about my kids more than his kids.
Yeah, but what if you didn't know if they were your kids or not? You had a hunch. When you take care of all the kids,
look like me.
Like if we go back to those times, like indigenous culture.
So the argument I think there is that it favors a female selection strategy, and whereas the male selection strategy is more like one man, one woman. I know your kids are mine because we've been to work. Hopefully, unless you assume you're cheating. I think there's a stat out there. There's like 10% of the children out there don't belong to the father who's raising them. They don't even know it. Something crazy like that. But the argument is like, so there's a book, This Is Your Brain on Birth Control, Dr. Sarah Hill.
Is that the one with the t-shirt study?
Yeah, the testosterone t-shirt study.
That's an amazing study.
They also did studies pointing, and this ties back to like body language and taking care of your testosterone, being the manly man you can be and whatnot. Because it's like her sexual desire for you is kind of subconscious and involuntary, but you can do things that'll get it to stoke. So if when you first met, you were just banging like fucking rabbits and you were all over each other, then there's something there. And if it goes away, you kind of know there's a roadmap to get back there again. Whereas if you first met and she has no fucking interest in you, even in the I will come back to this. Remind me if I forget. This is your brain on birth control study. But in the book, The Evolution of Desire, they talk about how they did a study with women and they asked them, would you marry a man who had all the attributes and traits that you're looking for that you did not love? And I was like, 70 to 80% of women said no. The ones who said more yes than no, but like it was like 40% were like Russian women. And it was around the time when like most of the Russian men got killed off in the war. So the male population was so low, like I'll just take anything at this point because I want to have kids and I'll settle. But it was like 80% of, and they did cross-culturally. They basically said like, would you marry a man who had like, had everything you want, but you did not feel you loved him? And they were like, no, I wouldn't. And that to me immediately says like, well, and then there's something beyond what you think you're attracted to that is signaling your attraction to them. And they did a study. They were asking women cross-culturally, would you marry a man who had all the attributes that you say you want, but you yourself just didn't love? And like 80% of them, 70-80% of the women in certain countries said no, there has to be like a feeling of love. Except in like Russia, where the male population was so low post like Soviet Union and shit, post World War II and whatnot, the women are just like, listen, there's so few guys around, I'll just do what I can and take what I can get. And they were more willing to like give up on that front. But that to me personally says like, then the feeling of love is still another biochemical process or reaction neurological in the back of your brain that you don't fully understand. So then this ties back to the Dr. Sarah Hill thing, which is that they did a study where they basically looked at female attraction to certain men, heterosexual women across certain parts of their menstrual cycle. I think it's like when they were in their luteal or menstrual phase, they were attracted to like softer features, like, like, oh, he's a little bit more dad bod. That's where the fucking dad bod thing comes from.
My wife is never more attracted to me when she's in her luteal phase. She's always very huggy and like, come here and clingy and like, I just want to love you.
Yeah.
And then when she's off, she's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Not really, but it's like, it's totally different.
Yeah, I'm sure like the sex is great when that happens too.
Exactly.
But they did that and they showed like they're attracted to more softer features, more calm, relaxed, things like that. And when they're in their ovulatory phase or when they're in the phase where they could get pregnant, moving in that direction, they're attracted to masculine features, deeper voice, facial hair, physical structure. They did this by showing like silhouettes of guys. And they tracked where they were in their cycle. And they said like, all right, when they're in their ovulatory phase, like the guys whose silhouettes looked really good and just, big tough man, they're like, I don't know, I like it. Like, how about this tone of voice? Like, oh, this tone of voice sounds really sexy. And then when they were, menstruating and shedding and like in luteal, whatever, and they were going to be able to get pregnant, it's like, no, I want you to like protect me and take care of me now because I'm in like a bit of a phase.
Exactly.
And the argument is basically like, well, women literally want it all. They want the soft, caring, nice guy half the month, and they want the tough, badass, masculine guy the other half of the month.
Structure and softness.
Softness, yeah. But the idea that I think we have, it's like we have 80% common female ancestors and like 40% male, something like that. It was from Of Boys and Men by Richard Reeves.
Oh, I've been meaning to read that.
Yeah, and
that's pretty good.
So the argument then is like, in a perfect female world, they would fuck the most Chad ripped, sexy bodybuilder ever, get pregnant, and have the Google software engineer raise the kids.
See, polyamory it's a thing.
But then at the end of the day, it's like, well, whose genetics are getting passed on essentially, and
yeah, exactly.
It favors more of like a female strategy that like they and there's plenty of examples of this across culture, even across species. They showed examples of like monkeys doing this shit where like,
for sure.
Yeah, they would have like set up certain relationships with certain males under certain conditions and they would have access during estrus if they, whatever it was. But the polyamory thing, I think there still is like you're eventually at some point in our genetic past, some dude figured out this kid doesn't look like me. Therefore, I don't want to raise him. I'm going to raise the kids that look like me. And then those kids are going to repeat what I did. Or maybe one day we got paternity tests and we figured out, oh shit. And then again, like the stats are around 80% female ancestors and 40% male, which means only 40% of men throughout all of history, actually had family and kids. And then when guys hear that, they're going to be like, then fuck, I'm not fucking, that's ridiculous. I want my 80% to be in there too.
This would be a cool conversation for an anthropologist, an evolutionary psychologist, a psychologist, someone else.
They all walk into a bar and
yeah. The intersectionality of this would be a fascinating conversation.
You got some friends, I'd be happy to discuss it. The best that I can discuss it, it's fascinating. But I do think they're like polyamory, I think favors, if I'm being honest, female selection. Cause
could be. Yeah, it could be. It's a hard one to reconcile.
Well, the men, it's like I want to fuck the bodybuilder and cuddle with the soft guy right afterwards.
Yeah, so maybe men, the task, like you said, is to work on, again, structure and softness so the women can have both those things. Yeah,
and maybe polyamory is just an answer to polygamy. That like for a long time it was like men had multiple wives, now women can have multiple. There are some tribes around the world that actually do that when women have like multiple husbands.
Yep.
But trying to get to this point of reconciling that, like, this is again, the solutions versus trade-offs things. It's like, you're going to have an attractive person. Are they going to be the hottest person ever? No. Are they going to be like, are they going to say this like a 6-pack supermodel, fucking gorgeous booty, beach body booty, whatever? No, they're going like, you're going to have thoughts and feelings. Like one of my favorite things, it's like when it was like a joke. It was a guy talking about when he went on vacation with his wife and his family. And she's like, oh my God, we go on vacation. She's got to buy a new outfit, new bathing suits, and this and that. He's like, me, I just need a good pair of sunglasses. He's like, because as long as she doesn't know where I'm looking, what's the problem, really?
We never do that.
Yeah, what? No. And even in the male brain book, they talk about that, about how it's like this woman went to her and said, like, he's like glancing at other women. It's like, does he not love me? Does not care? And it's like, no. It's like, she literally talks about how, like, there's parts of the male brain that literally get a dopamine hit and a reward when you look at, we're very visual creatures, when you look at like something attractive, like boobs and butts. Like, it's literally telling you, go look for it, go seek it out. I want you to stare at it. This is why visual pornography is such a male problem. And then literary pornography is a different story. But literary pornography tells you a big story about female attraction right there too.
Yes.
It's like the 5 big things was like surgeon, werewolf, doctor, pirate, and lawyer. Yeah, those are like the 5 most common. There's another book, A Billion Wicked Thoughts. It was Google data engineers.
I have that book. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, and I got to add it to my list of shit to do. But they basically figured, like, oh yeah, a lot of women, like the most common literary erotica like things was those 5 things. And what does it really tell you? It's like the story of Beauty and the Beast. This is all Jordan Peterson stuff, by the way. It was just the idea of, like, this is every guy wants a girl a good girl that's bad for him. Every girl wants a bad boy who's good for them.
And it's a fantasy.
And it's like, that's men integrating the nice guy and the bad boy, but women integrating the Madonna and the whore.
There it is. Yeah. That's a great Jungian archetype right there. Connor Beaton did a great podcast on that one. If anyone's interested,
yeah.
Look it up. It's fairly recent,
but
really good.
Yeah, it's. I would wager polyamory wouldn't have to exist if people could just accept the fact that, like, you're not going to get everything you want. Like, I suspect polyamory is a response to, can I have my cake and eat it too? And some people temporarily might be okay with it. But it's like,
seems stressful also.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I could barely handle one woman. What the fuck? I need more than that.
Yeah, because that's multiple loving relationships. It's not polysexuality where you have friends with benefits or like the mistress or whatever. That's the whole nother rabbit hole we could go down.
But even within there, my own speculation is, like, if for a woman you have several male lovers, you're gonna have some that you're like romantically, like, you're going to have some Google software engineers, and you're going to have some, like, bad boy murdered, like, tattooed badasses. And over enough iterations of trying to create that family dynamic of, like, oh, we have multiple fathers and mothers. If she's subconsciously attracted to, like, the bad boy tattooed badass, she's going to have more natural orgasms with him across enough time frame, across enough generations. The majority of kids that they spawn are going to be personality-wise, genetically badass tattooed guys. And eventually they're going to say, like, get the fucking software engineer out of here. I don't want him here anymore. I want my own thing by myself. And I suspect with time it would just kind of fizzle out. And then again, the best solution is just, like, integrate the two. Find a way to combine it. I had a girlfriend in college who it wasn't a girlfriend. It was like kind of a girlfriend. I was seeing her, and she was quite literally also seeing another guy at the same time. And I was aware of it. I was the bad boy. I was the the badass, muscle dude, all this stuff. And she was also seeing another guy who was very, like, there's the cat again. He was very, like, soft and kind and caring and this and that. And I remember asking her, when she said something to me one day, she's like, I wish I could just take the two of you and just put you together.
Push you together, yeah.
And I was like, well, you can. You have to have, and now I'm realizing, actually, no, you could. You literally could. It's just like, and if anything, any guys out there, I'd say, like, get a copy of, like, your wife's or your girlfriend's, like, menstrual cycle tracking app, and you'll just know, oh, she's shedding. I should be more of a comforting, caring type. Oh,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, she's in follicular ovulatory. Yeah. I should be working out a little bit more and wear some more Speedos around the house. It's like, it's okay. And it's okay to like, basically acknowledge that. It's the same thing for women, too. It's like, he's very visual. He likes it when you wear lingerie. There's a good video I really recommend. There's a guy, Dr. Orion Taraban. He has a channel called Psych Hacks. I know we're advertising like every other fucking podcast except for ours right now. But he talks about he has a book. It's called The Value of Others. And he talks about this idea of the coin of Caesar. And it's like a parable from the Bible about these guys who are trying to, like, trap trap Jesus in this moment of like trying to prove that he doesn't want to pay taxes, something like that. It's a weird story. And they basically come to him and say like, well, like how should we pay Caesar if we don't have, you know, versus paying our debts to God versus like whatever it was. And the line was like, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. And the idea is like pay people how they want to be paid. Like Caesar wants coins that has his face on them. God wants admiration and respect. Pay them how they want to be paid. And he makes the point in the case of relationships, it's like women, what do men want? For women, for the men, it's like, I don't understand like why I did this, and this, but like she just ended up cheating on me. Therefore, you know, it's bullshit. And it's like, well, how does she want to be paid? Like emotional connection, affection, admiration, or adoration, or just like that kind of getting in touch with your emotions and creating space for her, making her feel safe. That's her currency. How do I pay guys? And he's like girls, send your guy nudes. It's like, and he makes a point. He's like, I got women all the time coming to me basically saying like, well, like, isn't it like, shouldn't he want to care about my interests and my career and my ambitions and my hopes and dreams? And he's like, yeah, maybe. Or maybe he's a dude and he likes to look at titties.
I mean, that's the door into that stuff.
Yeah. And it's just like, and he's like, honestly though, it's like odds are with the proliferation of available titties on the internet, odds are he's going to be looking at titties.
If you look at all the people addicted to porn, that proves that point right there.
It's like, I think I read a statistic, like 30% of internet traffic is porn right now. 30% globally, 30%. Fucking crazy. But that just tells you how ridiculously powerful that biological instinct and urge is, and why are you fighting it? It's like, do you want him to care about your hopes and dreams? Yeah, take your shirt off first. Then afterwards, we'll talk about hopes and dreams. You want her to bend over the couch? Yeah, talk to her about her day first. Give her what she wants. Give him what he wants. Stop arguing with each other about this shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he basically it's like odds are titties are going to be on the menu. The question is, are they going to be your titties or someone else's titties? He's going to be looking at women anyway, so why not make you like the number one thing he wants to see in your life? She's going to be like wanting emotional connection. She might find it. Like, how often do you hear emotional affairs for women with other guys? It's like,
all the
just
time.
Learn how to cultivate emotion with men. This is what I'm trying to do with the coaching practice, and I think I'm going to like really narrow it down to like a bit of a catchy phrase. I want to teach guys with a good IQ how to improve their EQ.
There you go. It's needed. Yeah.
And it's just like so many guys just don't understand like what, like I'm making all this money and this and that, but she still slept with the broke rock star. What the fuck? It's like, because he knew how to cultivate her emotions. It's not rocket science. It's learnable. It's teachable.
And that's what we need. We are teachable.
Yeah. Neuroplasticity. You can change, you can learn. You're not going to be perfect at it, but you could be sufficient enough that it will maintain a spark in a relationship as need be for a long period of time, that you can maintain a stable household to then bring kids into the picture who then have a stable environment to operate in, and then become the parents eventually themselves and just repeat the cycle.
There we go. Well, sounds like you're off to good success here with the dating apps. You got some.
I think about 5 or 6.
A lot of good intel for getting after it.
Yeah,
right.
It's yeah. We'll talk about that more next time, I think. But
yeah, we're good at opening up lots of rabbit holes. I'm just being mindful of the time.
All good.
Speaking of making relationships work, it is Mother's Day, and
you should probably go.
I don't
tend to
that. I dig myself into the hole more. Yeah, this is good. Round 2 has been good. We'll have another one. We should bring Phil Horning in sometime, do a three-man version.
Also, me, Phil, and Dre were like, we should do a threesome sometime. So we literally said that. We just started dying laughing.
Never gets old. All right, so tell people where to find you, because you got a podcast.
You can find me on YouTube. It's The Adaptive Men. I have a website now. I actually made it up and running called adaptivemen.com. If you're interested in chatting with me, working with me, submit your information, shoot me an email, and we'll go from there. Yeah. This is my whole shtick, is trying to like integrate history, biology, evolution, understanding how the controller that is your body and your mind and your subconscious, and then don't fight with the programming, work with it, and you'll have a happier life across the board. Learn how to play the game.
That'll resonate with a lot of men, because we like what's the plan? It's very tactical.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll link it in the show notes. Yeah, this sounds good. It's good pausing point for now.
Awesome.
We'll tee it up for next time.
Appreciate it.
All right. Until then, do all the things.
Thank you very much.
For both our podcasts, like the follows and 5-star reviews, or 1 star if you think it was crap. And we'll see you all next week.
See you then.